Let's talk a little bit about earnest money. What is earnest money? Or another way of saying it is a good faith deposit. I like that language because after a house has an offer accepted on it, then the sellers have to take it off of the market. And so this earnest money or good faith estimate helps protect the seller in case something happens and the buyers back out for really no good reason, and the sellers then have to start the whole process all over again. The earnest money just helps protect them, the sellers, and with good faith, know that they can remove the listing from an active listing, stop taking other offers, and trust that a buyer is going to purchase it. Why should we pay any earnest money? Well, it is not required, but it is very good to do in a competitive seller's market like we find ourselves. We are experiencing a record-breaking shortage of listings still that is adjusting a little bit, but the earnest money can help give us a little bit of an upper hand on other offers if the earnest money isn't offered. Sellers really like it because it communicates that you're serious about this property and you have no intentions of backing out, and it helps them feel a little more protected through the process. The other nice thing about it is it actually lowers the amount of money that you might have to bring to closing come closing day. You have out-of-pocket costs like your down payment, or if you haven't negotiated closing costs in. So there is normally a check that you'll need to bring at closing date. Well, your earnest money actually counts as a credit towards that amount when it's all said and done. So you're almost getting to play an installment of that cost up front, so it's not as painful come closing day. How much is enough earnest money? Well, nationally speaking, the average is from about 1 to 3%. Really, in our market, it just depends on the house. And so make sure you have a very knowledgeable agent that can walk you through your different options and help you decide that number so that we know that we're making a meaningful investment. And finally, what worries most people is it refundable? So if you make an offer and submit an offer with the house and you put down $1,000, $2,000 worth of earnest money, does that mean that money is gone forever? Not necessarily. You have to look at your contingencies. So oftentimes, earnest money is able to be refunded back to a buyer in 3 main situations if contingencies aren't met. And so there is a home inspection contingency. So let's say we get our home inspection and it doesn't go very well. Typically, earnest money can be refunded in that situation. There's an appraisal contingency. So our bank gets a appraisal done, and we look at that and the house does not appraise for enough to get your financing. Typically, you're able to get the earnest money back in that situation. And then finally, a financing contingency. Let's say something happens with a job and you lose your job, or something happens with the bank and you're not able to get the original financing that you thought. Then there is typically pieces in place to help you get a refund of that earnest money. So, long story short, yes, in our market, earnest money is not a requirement. It's not used in many cases these days. However, it could give you the upper hand in your negotiations if you've been out looking for a property and going up against other buyers. Also, if you are a seller, it's not a bad thing to consider in maybe your next counter or in what you expect in receiving other offers. So what other questions do you have about real estate these days? It is a rapidly changing environment that we're in, and so I'm trying to do my best to help keep us all in a loop of what on earth is going on here in the Jonesboro real estate market.